Good morning, happy Saturday. God has closed his fourth real estate deal through me of these round 2 efforts of wholesaling real estate. This is the first local transaction that I've done in the last maybe 2 or even 3 years. So we got it wrapped up this past week. The seller is happy, they got their money, they sold the property, and the buyer that we assigned it to has a new house to work on. So I just wanted to give a quick update of how that went and also give you guys some insight as to what paperwork I used to get this transaction done. I used a purchase agreement and an assignment agreement to make it all happen. So this was the one that was my old landlord. His daughter had reached out to me. These people were awesome to work with. They were great landlords to me. Me and my friend Lucas and then my friend Grant all lived at this house off Dean Lake, and it was a great place for us. I've talked about this one a little bit before, how the lead just kind of came out of nowhere. There was no cold calling or direct mail or texting that made this lead happen and made this transaction happen. It just came from posting these videos, right? Just talking about what I'm doing. So maybe that helps somebody. It's good to get things out there and see what God will do with it. So like I said in the other video, we were able to put the property under contract, give the seller what they wanted from the property, and then we showed it to 3 buyers, and then we ended up working with one of the buyers who would like to purchase this property to fix it up, update it to 2025 conditions, and then put it back out on the market and sell it to a family or anybody that's interested in a brand new home. So it'll be a classic fix and flip for the buyer, and for the seller it was a very easy cash as is sale. So that's what we do here in wholesaling. We're just connecting the sellers to the end cash buyer. Part of the reason this went well, I think, is that I was super transparent with the sellers and with the sellers' daughters about what I do. I was not trying to pose as the buyer of this property or tell them this is what I can pay for the property. I was very transparent about the process of what I do, and that here's what I think a cash investor could pay for the house. I thought it was actually going to be a little bit less, and they were holding firm at their number. So I said, okay, let's just give this a shot. I'll put it out there to some of the close investors I work with and some of the larger groups of investors that are out there. And it ended up being able to get it done. So that was awesome. I was able to just be transparent, and they gave me a shot, and I was able to get it done. It was awesome process. But a couple things I just want to go over in this video is the paperwork that I used to be able to close this transaction, to work with the seller, and then to work with the buyer and send it all to a title companies, and they're able to close this transaction. I also want to let you know that there's nothing special about me. There's no specific license I had to go out and get to be able to do this. There's no school or college or training that I needed to be able to do something like this. It took years and years to be able to do this again how I'm doing it now, but when I first started at 19 years old, I didn't know anything about real estate or this business at all. There's nothing special about me or any secret or skill I have that allowed me to be able to do this where you cannot. If anybody's interested in doing this, it just takes a lot of work. It takes talking to people. So that's a skill I do have, is talking to people and being able to relate with people and be transparent, right? That definitely will help you. But if you put in the calls, you put in the effort, and you pick up the phone and talk to people, go out on appointments and talk to people, there is a chance this could work for you. If you have your heart in the right place and you give the results up to God, I believe that's going to help a ton too. There's only so much striving we can do on our own. But yeah, that's just some encouragement I want to give you guys. Anybody who's interested in doing something like this, there's nothing special about it. It just takes a lot of hard work, and that's what it took for me, and I'm thankful I still have that skill and I have that knowledge to be able to do that now. I went back to mowing years ago because I always knew how to mow lawns, right? I could go back to photography. I could go back to buying and selling golf clubs. Those are things I've learned over the years that I can always go back to. So this is something I had learned and I'm going back to. When I was 19 years old and giving this a shot for the first time, I didn't know if it would work at all. I just saw some people on YouTube videos talking about this business as a way to get into real estate without having to purchase a property right away. I had no money, I had no experience, so this was a way I could get my foot in the door of real estate. And at 19, I didn't quite know if it would work or not. That definitely made it harder at that point, that I'm making these calls, not really sure if this is going to work or not. But I just want to be encouraging to you guys that this does work, and it can work for you if you work it. So reach out if you got any questions, as always. But today I just want to go over the paperwork that I've used to be able to close these transactions. There's a few different ways to do it, but the easiest and simplest way to do it is to use a purchase agreement with the seller. So you go into an agreement with the seller that if you're able to find that investor to pay that amount of money, then the seller will sell you the property for X amount of dollars, right? So in this case, the property was $150,000. So I signed a purchase agreement, which is the agreement from A to B, from seller to me, right? And I just put the property details right up here, the address of the property, the county it's in. I put that it would be a cash purchase, and I put the purchase price right there. There's a few pages to this agreement about earnest money and about where the closing will take place and what the timeline for that closing will be. It talks about how it's a completely as-is sale. So this is not a listing agreement or anything like that. It's just an agreement that says Alex Jenkins has the right to purchase this property for X amount of dollars. There is a term in this purchase agreement that allows me to assign my rights of this agreement to an end buyer. So that's the next agreement we'll talk about, is an assignment of this contract. So all this is just equitable interest in the property. Once you have a purchase agreement with the seller, you are the only person that can purchase that property for that amount of time. So that's what gives you the right to then go find other investors, other buyers who want to purchase the property more than you do. If you were a realtor, you would need a listing agreement to put the property out on the market and try to find a buyer. But since I'm not a realtor, I don't sign listing agreements, I don't market the properties, right? I'm just signing a purchase agreement with the seller and then trying to assign my rights of that agreement. Not necessarily marketing the house, but marketing the right to purchase the house. That's what I have and what I can find somebody else to do. Once I was able to find a buyer, we put their name on something like this, an assignment of contract. It says that they'll be the ones fulfilling all the rights to that purchase agreement. It basically takes your name at the bottom of the purchase agreement, takes Alexander Jenkins out of there, and it puts this LLC or this buyer, their name into it. So they then have to put down some earnest money and go through with the closing, and you're still a part of the transaction. Got to make sure it gets to the closing table. But this assignment agreement just basically switches out your name for the buyer's name, and they have to then fulfill the purchase agreement and purchase the house for the $150,000 in that example. So those are the two agreements I use. That's basically it, right? There are other agreements you can use and other different ways to close transactions in this business, right? You can double close on the property. You can just purchase the property. You can put the property out on the market through some other paperwork if you needed to and throw it up on Zillow and stuff like that. But this is the cleanest, simplest way to do it. I think this works well for me in signing purchase agreements with sellers because I'm transparent with them up front. I'm not posing as the buyer, so they see my name at the bottom there, but they know exactly what I'm doing because I've explained that process to them beforehand. So if you're working with complete transparency, I think that's going to allow things to go a lot better in the end. If you're not able to find a buyer, right? That's a big question that comes up. If you're not able to find a buyer for the purchase price and you cannot get this transaction done for the seller, since you were transparent up front with them, that can go over a lot better. You're not trying to make up excuses as to why you can't purchase the property, or the property needs too many repairs, or the market is not there, right? So being transparent up front has really helped. So yeah, those are the two agreements I use. If anybody needs a copy of these, I'd be happy to share them or point you in the right direction to get something that works for you. But let me know if anyone out there is getting after it when it comes to wholesaling real estate, or let me know what you are getting after. I'd love to hear your successes and your struggles. I have those struggles too. It's awesome that even though the last 6 months, right, I put in a lot of work, there's been a lot of things I'm not great at yet either, right? This is a daily thing and a constant battle to try to get better and better, try to have more and more discipline. And it's awesome that God can still show up even through that growth, right? I'm definitely not perfect. I don't have this all figured out. I'm still a baby when it comes to the faith and figuring out this business, just getting back into it. But it's awesome that he can show up and make this happen. All right, appreciate you guys tuning in. Thanks for watching. God bless.